I'm at the end of Chrisman Road. This is the parking area. There really isn't a parking space. Just there's a circle here at the end of this road. I parked my car right there, tried to get off the road a little bit. There's a gate here on private property that provides access to the trail. I see a blue blaze just to the left of my hiking poles. There's another gate up here, so you got to make sure you don't block that off. That's got a no trespassing sign on it. But anyway, this is fine, probably for day hike, overnighter. I'm not so sure I'd leave my car here overnight though. And we're going to head this way. We've got to open up that great big gate and then close it back up. The elevation here is about 700 feet. We've got a lot of climbing to do this morning. Just a quick note, because I already went the wrong way. There's my car. There's the gate. As soon as you come through the gate, you have to come down this little, you have to take a left and come right down here. And there's a Shenandoah Park sign saying stay on this trail. This passes through private property. So this is the trail right here. Right now it's kind of overgrown, but I'm going to head down through here and hopefully we'll pick it up. Wow, the first tenth of a mile of this is pretty hard to follow. This part here looks like the trail is starting to pick up and become much more well defined, and you can see there's a yellow blaze there, but I came from this direction, and back in there it's just a overgrown mess. It's really pretty confusing back in through there, but if you keep your eye on the trail you can follow it, but it is pretty hard. Anyway, here it looks like the trail's starting to become a little better defined, and I'm glad I see that yellow blaze there. So here we go. Okay, well, there's the, this turns out this gate is at the park boundary. Right there on that tree is a park boundary sign, and see a bunch of barbed wire. So I guess the barbed wire is to keep farm animals on the private property and off the park here. So anyway, this is what the entrance looks like here into Shenandoah National Park. Let's see. I've hiked about 3/10 of a mile from my car, so that's how far it is to get here. And the elevation here is about 750 feet. So here we go. I'm still on this first trail. This first trail is called Heiskell Hollow Trail. As you can see, it's an old road, like many of the trails in the park. This stream here is called East Fork. We're going to be following this for a while. I'm a little surprised to see that it's dry down there because it rained here yesterday. But it doesn't take much time for the water to run off the side of the mountain. So for now we're going to follow this Heiskell Hollow Trail for a ways up the side of the mountain. About a half a mile into the hike now, and here's the remnants of an old stone wall. So there was an old homestead here. People lived here before the park was created. When the park was created, everybody got kicked out. But some of these old remnants of these homesteads remain. Here's what's left of a stone wall. Well, here's the old homestead. You're looking at the back side of the chimney. The sun's at my back right now. The sun's low in the sky, so I don't think I can show you from the other direction without a lot of glare. But there's the chimney. Over there is the stone wall. There's a gap in the wall, which I guess was the entrance into the place. And then just over that little piece of ground there, down a little ways, is the creek, East Fork Creek. So these people live down here in this hollow. They put a fence up around their homestead, and that creek would have provided their water. I'm about 8/10 of a mile into the hike now, and I just stopped here to show you this little swimming hole. It's on East Fork. There's about a, I don't know, 5 or 6 foot drop there. The mountain's starting to get steeper now. And up there is the road, which they now call Heiskell Hollow Trail. So we're going to keep heading up the side of the mountain on that road. Just a little ways uphill from the little swimming hole is this first crossing of the creek. No big deal here. I'm about a mile into my hike now. Here's the second crossing of the creek, which looks like I have to cross it at least twice. But there's no water flowing here, so no problem. I'm still basically at the base of the mountain. I'm only about 860 feet elevation, but let me show you the trees up here. Probably 3/4 of the leaves have dropped off the trees now. And as you can see, those have turned a nice amber color. So with this many leaves missing off the trees way down here, when I get up to up higher on the mountain, I may find that all the leaves have fallen. There's a lot of leaves on the trail now, which is not a problem here. That first section of the trail, though, is kind of hard to navigate. It's hard to find with the leaves covering everything up. So here we go. Here's the next crossing of the creek. This one's pretty wide. So again, there's no water here, but this is a lot more than a hop, skip, and a jump across there. So if you were to come here right after a heavy rain, you would have to do some wading to get across here. Here's the next crossing. This one's narrow and deep. I'm about 1.6 miles into my hike, and I'm up to about 950 feet elevation. So far it hadn't been very steep, but it's going to get steep. Thought I'd show you what the stream bed looks here at this crossing. That's looking upstream. As you can see, there's really no water anymore. There's a little pool. There, I can see some fish down in there. Fish get trapped in these little pools in between rains. So there's a whole bunch of little ones I can see swimming around down in there. There's a trail where I came from, and then that's looking downstream. So this is narrow and kind of deep. A narrow, deep crossing here. If there was a lot of rain coming down through here, this would be probably impossible to get safely across. I know it doesn't look like much right now, but these streams go from hardly anything to really powerful streams during and immediately after a rain. And then this way is where we're going, on up the side of the mountain. I'm about 2 miles into the hike now. The elevation here is about 1060. And this is the first concrete national park signpost I've come to. This trail over here goes over to Beecher Ridge. We're going to come back that way. From here on, this hike is going to be one big loop from here all the way back around to the same point. So we're going to head on up this, continue up the Heiskell Hollow trail, which is a road, for another couple miles, gaining a fair amount of elevation. And then we're going to loop around to the left. We're going to go up along a ridge line over there and come down and come right back to this point here, and then we'll head back down the Heiskell Hollow trail, the final 2 miles back to my car. So for now, we're going to keep hiking up Heiskell Hollow trail until we get up to the high point of the hike. Just thought I'd show you, there's a spider web, one of many that I've walked through or torn down coming up the side of this trail. These spiders, they're very industrious. They build them overnight. You tear them down. Heck, I'd tear that one down. If I was to come back down this way a few hours later, there might be another one up there. So I'm lucky right there in that I can see it because of the way the sun's glaring into it. But sometimes you can't see them, and the next thing you know, you do a face plant right into a spider web. I hate that. Here's what the trail looks like. It's still a road. Let's see, I'm 2.4 miles into the hike, and we're up to about 1,250 feet now. About 2.7 miles into the hike now. I'm up to about 1,530 feet. And I just stopped here for a second to show you, this is the first time in the hike so far I've been able to see Beecher Ridge over to my left. Here's Heiskell Hollow Trail that I'm hiking up on. We're going to go over that way, and over there, through the trees, you can see Beecher Ridge. There's a trail that runs along the ridge line over there. So we'll be coming back on that ridge line. Here's the next trail intersection. I'm 3.7 miles into the hike, and now I'm up to 2110 on elevation. The Heiskell Hollow Trail continues on to the right for a ways, but we're going to go to the left here on this Weddlewood Trail and head this way for a while, over towards Matthews Arm Campground. So here we go. Still on this Weddlewood Trail. And as you can see, it's an old road also. And over there, through the trees, is where we're headed, Beecher Ridge. I'm going to follow that trail back down the side of the mountain. Still climbing the mountain. It's about 11:45. And I'm 4.2 miles into the hike, up to about 2,310 feet now. I'm not sure what I'm going to peak out at, maybe around 2,600 or so. Here's where I came from, down that way. Still hiking up an old road, old abandoned road. In a couple of more weeks, when all the leaves are off the trees, there'll be some nice views out here to the west. But for now, we're going to keep fighting the big gravity up the side of the mountain. I'm 5 miles into the hike now, and I think I'm up to the high point. The elevation here is 2660. That's the Heiskell Hollow trail I just came up on. There's the signpost. And here's Matthews Arm Trail. It comes up this way and winds itself around the bend here and goes up, continues on up that way to the campground. But for now, we're gonna head down this way and a little ways, maybe 3/10 of a mile, and hopefully we'll find the Beecher Ridge Trail off to the left. .5 miles into the hike now. This is the intersection with the Beecher Ridge Trail. Here's where I came from, down Matthews Arm Trail. I'm down to 2419 on elevation. And so for the next couple of miles, we're going to follow along the top of Beecher Ridge here and make a slow, steady descent back down towards the parking lot. It's about 1 o'clock and I'm 6.3 miles into my hike. Here's what the trail looks like. This is Beecher Ridge Trail. Being on a ridge line, I was hoping to find a decent place to sit down and eat my lunch, but I found this one lone, relatively flat rock, so I'm just going to park myself here and eat some lunch. The elevation here is 1940. I'm 7.2 miles into the hike now, and this has just been it's easy hiking. It's a steady downhill hike along the ridge line here, Beecher Ridge. I'm down to 1,650 feet. I'm going to take a look around. There's a trail where I came from. Not much of a view from up here right now, but once in a couple of more weeks after all the leaves fall off the trees, the views will improve a lot. Here's a spot along Beecher Ridge here that's nice, relatively flat and wide, where you could set up dry camping. Maybe you can see the next ridge over through the trees there. But this area here, there's the trail. And there's just some gentle slopes here, like over that way. You know, you could go over that way a ways to set up camp, especially with a hammock. Like I like to hammock camp. So a place like this would be perfect. No water up here though. You would have to, you know, bring all your water and it'd be dry camping. The elevation here is 1375, and I am 7.6 miles into my hike. I'm still up on Beecher Ridge. I'm 7.9 miles into my hike. The elevation here is 1,240 feet. And here's my turnoff to get back to Heiskell Hollow Trail and complete my big loop. We're going to go to the left, down this way. And we're going to have to drop down some elevation too. So here we go. I'm standing in the bed of East Fork Creek. I'm back to the creek. I'm not back to my trail yet, but I'm back to the creek. This is looking upstream. I'm 8.6 miles into my hike, and the elevation here is 1040. Here's what the creek looks like looking upstream. I'm going to climb the bank right there to find my way back over to the trail I came in on. Here's looking downstream, a huge tree that's been dragged into the stream bed here. And up that steep bank there is where I just came from on the connector trail. And for now I'm going to climb this bank and find my way back over to the trail I came in on. Okay, I finally finished the big loop in my hike. When you look at the GPS track on my video, you'll see a huge loop. Just now completed the loop. There's the signpost. There's a connector trail where I just came from. And so from here on back, I'm going to retrace my steps now and go back down this Heiskell Hollow trail back to my car. It's about 2 miles from here back to the car. Up to this point I've hiked 8.7 miles and I'm down to an elevation of 1060. And back to the old homestead. There's part of the stone wall. And over there's what's left of the chimney that I showed you earlier. I am 10 miles into my hike and the elevation here is 775. Down under 1,000 feet now. And keep going this way until I get to my car. Here's the map that I used for the hike. The quadrangle name is Bentonville 1994. I use these older maps because they have more useful hiking information on them. You do have to be careful that they're not out of date though. This is US 340 coming down through the Shenandoah Valley. Here's Compton, Virginia. And here's where I parked my car. From here to here you hike on private property. This is where you go through the metal gate that you see in the video into Shenandoah National Park. And then for the next couple of miles you hike upstream. This is East Fork Creek. You hike up to this point right here, and then this is where the big loop that I described in my hiking video starts. I continued on up Heiskell Hollow Trail here for several more miles up to here. When you get up to here, you end up making a series of left turns onto a bunch of different trails that are described in my video until you get up to this point here, which is the high point of the hike. Then I come over here and get onto Beecher Ridge. There's a trail that runs right along the ridge line here. Beecher Ridge. I stopped about here and ate lunch. Continued on down Beecher Ridge to here. And then this trail continues forward and comes over here to Overall Run. But I took this left and worked my way with this connector trail back over to here, completing my loop. And then hiked back down to my parking spot. And the homestead that you see in the video is right in here somewhere. This is a little different compass than I show in most of my videos. I don't normally hike in Shenandoah Park with this compass. But this is a military lensatic compass. This one's made by Kamanga. They've been making them for many years for the military. The way you use this compass with a map is you set the base plate so that the straight side of the compass base plate is against the grid lines, just like that. And then if you look down here, you'll see that on this map there's 12 degrees of magnetic declination to the west. So what you do is there's a bezel here that rotates. It's got an index mark right there. Each click is 3 degrees on these compasses. So 4 clicks to the west is 12 degrees. And then you turn the map and the compass together like this until the needle on the compass is pointing right here at the index mark. And that gives you a correctly oriented map. Now the other thing that these compasses are good for is getting a bearing off of something. To get a bearing off of something, what you do is you put this compass up to your eye, and there's a little slit right there that you look through. You look through that slit, and you look through here, and there's a wire right here, and you put that wire on the distant object or feature that you want to get a bearing, compass bearing on. And then once this wire is on the distant object, without moving the compass, you shift your eyes from looking through this to looking through this lens. And this lens is designed to let you focus on reading this dial down here. So looking through here, you put the wire on the thing that you want a bearing off of, and then without moving anything, you just shift your gaze down through this lens, and there's a black line on this dial. You read the bearing off this black line right here. The other thing about these compasses is these are graduated in degrees, but they're also graduated in mils, which is a angular measurement that the military uses. So that's a real quick tutorial on how to use a military lensatic compass.